G'day guys, Chris Story here. Today I've got my good friend Matt. For a bit of background, he's got a CPA in accounting. He's a former writer for Motley Fool and he's also a YouTuber. G'day Matt.
Hi Chris, thanks for having me.
Good to have you on the show. Basically today I'll go through some questions that go through a bit of what's happening in the market, and then there's some interesting questions at the end. This should be a bit of fun. So question one, is now with the uncertainty in the market a good time to invest?
Well, trying to time the market is a fool's errand. So I'd always advise, if you've got cash available that you don't need for a long time, definitely buy shares, because if you try and time the market, you may miss opportunities. So for example, I recently bought in an ASX 200 ETF when it was at a low point, and now it's rebounded since. And that was just when I had cash available to invest. So I don't wait for the perfect moment, because there is no perfect moment to invest. So just having a consistent investment plan where you keep investing regardless of what the market is doing, because you don't want to miss out on those best days.
Okay, excellent. And this is an interesting one here. And this is a thought that came into my mind the other day. If you could double your net worth tomorrow, but you had to concentrate it into one asset that you couldn't sell for the next 15 years, would you do it? And what would it be if you did?
So I would concentrate it in a low cost index ASX 200 ETF, which tracks the top 200 companies in Australia, because that way it's highly unlikely that the top 200 companies would go bust. And that way the market would keep on rallying over time, because on the long-term average of the market is about 9% per annum. Over 30 years, up until like 2021, I believe. Vanguard did a chart and it showed just how much money you'd make per annum for investing in an ETF. So that's what I'd do. I'd lock it in an ETF, and that way it would just track what the market's doing and not have to worry about if the company will be around in 15 years' time.
Okay. Yeah, solid choice. And why did you pick Australia as a point of curiosity? Because you could have chosen any type of ETF or index fund. So why Australia, in your opinion?
Because I think in 15 years' time, Australia will be still a mining powerhouse. I think that with the demand for renewable energy, like nickel and copper and all those minerals, the mining players will still be really strong. I think that the banks still have a huge control over the banking industry in Australia. The banks are investing heavily in digital platforms, and their ability to buy those digital players that are really changing the game in Australia, they can be acquired, because these massive banks have a huge amount of capital they can deploy to acquire those small digital players. So I don't think that those fintech companies really pose much of a risk to the big banks.
Okay. And being a stock investor yourself, so if you had to put your money into one stock for the next 15 years, what would it be and why? So if we can avoid an index fund of some sort or an ETF, that would be preferable given your previous answer, because I know obviously what it would be if you could.
So 15 years, I'd be looking for that time frame. I'd be looking for a company that has a really strong presence in their market, that has a sustainable advantage that people couldn't easily change, and that's really dominant in their industry and it's protected by patents. So my stock that I reckon hold for 15 years and quite comfortably would be Microsoft. I think that a lot of businesses use Windows for doing business. The pandemic has given rise to huge demand for laptops and PCs. I was reading an article in CNBC that demand for PCs has actually risen quite considerably, which has probably put Intel back on the map, actually, because of just that huge demand for PCs. And so that's why I'd say Microsoft, because they still have like an absolutely dominant market share in the PC market with Windows. And they also have some really good growing cloud services for customers. So that's why I've chosen Microsoft as sort of that company that you could buy and hold and be quite comfortable knowing that it'll be strong in 15 years.
Okay. Yeah, solid choice. Yeah, and I agree they will be strong in 15 years. Okay, so 5 years from now, so what will be the world's highest market cap business in your opinion?
So right now it's Apple, and I reckon it will still be Apple in 5 years' time. They're growing in every one of their product categories, and they're growing in their services, but they're also investing in AR, augmented reality, as well as Apple iCar. And what I understand about Apple iCar is it's going to be like fully automated driving, not even steering wheel. Like you hop in with friends and it just takes you to a place. You don't even have to drive. It'll be that smart. So if that can really take off, that would just be crazy. So, but there's a lot of tech companies in this space that could really invest in that, in augmented reality, and really like take off, and the AI, self-driving. But I think that Apple is a really good chance of being successful in this industry because they've got truckloads of cash, and they're investing heavily in new product categories. So I think it will be, in 5 years, it'll be hard to knock Apple from their top.
Yep. Yeah, fair call. Okay. Can you see anyone surpassing Elon Musk in net worth over the next 5 years?
So I was having a look at this last night, actually, and I was quite amazed just how in front Elon Musk is right now, considering the growth that Tesla still has. Like they're investing heavily in human robots, which could take over heaps of, which we've spoken at length on multiple occasions. But like if that takes off, just the opportunity there to really like just take away heaps of human jobs though, but be able to sell these robots to people, it would probably turn Tesla into the most valuable company, because it's like if they could buy these robots to do work 24/7, which may not be 24/7, but majority of that time could be way more productive than humans, because humans need rest, but robots don't. Maybe maintenance, but on the whole, like most of the time they could be working. And so, and also they're developing electric cars. Like I looked at their most recent quarter, and they're having explosive growth even in the automobile sales, and with demand picking up, I reckon it'll be quite a big growing market for any player in the market. And so I reckon the profitability for Tesla will just keep on going, and especially if they can develop their AI, which they've learned from their Tesla vehicles, into their human robots.
No, so, absolutely agree. And one point I'll actually add on Tesla as well, I actually see them, rather than a car company, actually as a software company. And I think that's actually going to be a real sort of point of difference going forward. But
yeah, because they're learning from like their experience in their automobiles and putting that in the human robots. So so it's a wait and see to see if they can pull it off. So.
No, absolutely. Okay, so your favorite growth stock and why?
So I actually added a position to Tesla recently, and I still think it's got value in the share price. So given its market opportunity that's still growing, and like they're becoming extremely profitable, and with their product categories that they're investing heavily in, so in their AI development, like robots and self-driving cars, which they're still working on, but it's a massive opportunity for them. I reckon with their cars, the self-driving element with the AI, the biggest probably competitor is that Apple iCar I mentioned earlier. But I think it will also be a situation where it's first mover advantage, like the tech company that can develop it the best will be. But I still think that Tesla, I think Elon Musk won't give up until he's done like the best. So I still think that Tesla is probably the best growth opportunity at the moment. So
okay. Yeah, and I tend to agree, honestly, where I'm a massive Tesla bull, and I'm actually really sort of positive about all the projects they're going into. I know there's a lot of uncertainty about really all these moves into future areas that won't be profitable for a long time, but in the future could really pay off. So that's something certainly, if I was a Tesla investor, that I'd be really looking at. Yeah. Okay, so your favorite value stock and why?
So this particular company had a massive sell-off recently, and I think it was overdone, and that is Meta Platforms. So I did a video on this, and that's on my channel. So if you want to go and watch it, feel free, go watch it. It's good. And it was sold off heavily because people were worried about the user growth slowing. But I think that the earnings report was still really decent, and they're investing heavily in the augmented reality. They specifically mentioned TikTok as being a major threat to them, but with Facebook investing heavily into Reels, which is those short clips, I think that Facebook still has the financial ability to really kind of pull back users onto its platform if it delivers. And so that's why I think TikTok is still not TikTok, Meta Platforms. I saw TikTok on my screen and I got distracted, but Meta Platforms I still think has a lot of opportunity to develop its product.
Okay. And as a point of interest on that as well, do you think their venture into the metaverse will prove a successful one, or is that a concern to you?
Well, it's a concern at the moment because their revenue is increasing, but their losses are widening. But at the same time, there's a view in the market that all the investment in the metaverse is actually taking away from their focus in advertising. But I see it as with 3 billion users, pretty much, maybe a little bit under 3 billion, like 2.92, I think it was, looking at their slideshow presentation. With 3 billion users, and how much bigger can they get? Like, so they're looking at a new product category that can actually leapfrog them into an even more valuable company. And that takes time and investment, and they're still making quite a lot of cash from the advertising side of the business. So I guess they're realizing the competitive pressures of the social media side and wanting to diversify its business, even though that there might be some short-term pain for them. But short-term pain, long-term gain is what they say. Like, they need to develop into new product and service categories. And I feel like that's what they're putting capital into. They're looking at the future. They're looking 15 years and 20 years in the future, when investors on Wall Street like to focus on the short term. So I can see what they're doing, and I'm seeing their strategic focus, and I think it could pay off if they get it right. But all these TikTok tech companies are investing in this space, so it will be the player who can get it the most right, that customers really like, to be the winner in this space, I reckon. But it's a growing industry as well, so I feel like there's room for multiple players. So, but Meta Platforms, I reckon, is really pushing heavily in this space, and also addressing the competitive pressures that TikTok is making them feel. So
yeah, and certainly I think TikTok was a big factor in them actually changing their branding, certainly, for me. With investing, so what is your why? Why do you personally invest?
I think it's fun. Like, I just look at shares, I research just for fun. It's just like the thrill of being right, like analyzing shares and researching and being right. The thrill of being right on share prices and companies is what drives me. So like, if I think a company's undervalued and seeing it like go up 100%, like Baby Bunting, when I made over 100% on that particular stock, seeing that there was a market opportunity, which is funny because like when I had my daughter Ebony, I spent quite a bit of money at Baby Bunting, and I went, maybe I should look into the company to see if it's a good investment. And I looked at their financials and I went, you know what, it's actually pretty solid. They're growing every year. They've recently announced an expansion into New Zealand, so online, but we'll see like how that goes. And yeah, I made over 100% on that stock, and so that was really rewarding to see that stock take off over 100%. So over like a few years of investing, like holding it for a few years and seeing it go over 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's just a lesson there in investing in your circle of competence, I'd say.
And so like, even if I got rich from investing, I'd still do it because like it's fun to me, and I enjoy investing and looking at shares. So I'd do it even if I had a lot of money and I didn't need to do it anymore. So.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so if you had $1 billion, what would you do with it? So this is an outlandish one. I don't think I'll ever get there, but you never know. Maybe with inflation, maybe that helps me out a little bit one day. But what would you do?
Or
with
it's
it?
$1 billion and it's worth like $10 because of inflation.
Yeah, I know that would be a bit of a worry.
So my very first thought is like, oh, I could buy a truckload of shares. But then I thought, 1 billion, like that's a lot of zeros. And I thought, well, you know what? I'd actually give quite a lot away. I don't need $1 billion. Like I'd give a lot to charity. But like also it gives me an opportunity to create like an online business. So like I was writing for Motley Fool, I'd create like a competitor to Motley Fool, and I'd hire writers and write articles to help people become better investors. So I'd use the $1 billion to do that. Obviously, like buy a house and look after my family, develop the cash flow that I need for each year. But I reckon I'd give a lot away to charity. So maybe build some businesses, like I said, with the online writing, be a competitor to Motley Fool. And yeah, continue YouTube on talking about stocks because I enjoy stocks and that's what I do for fun. So yeah, that's what I do with $1 billion.
Okay, excellent. No, good to know. Okay, so if you had this option, so this was actually one I saw online the other day. So would you like $10 million or 10 million subs if you had the option?
I reckon I'd want 10 million subs. And the reason why I'd want 10 million subs is because the reason why I started the YouTube channel in the first place is to talk about shares, and knowing that I've reached 10 million people and making a difference to those people to inform them of how to become better investors would be more rewarding to me than $10 million. And so that's what I'd want 10 million subs, because that way I know like I'm making a difference. So yeah.
Then you can almost use one to almost help you with the other and vice versa. So
Yeah,
there's
exactly. And I
well.
figured 10 million subs, like, because in this question I could take as like someone's just handing me 10 million or 10 million subscribers. So I'd take the subscribers because like the underlying purpose of creating the YouTube channel to talk about shares was helping people become better investors and inform them about companies, and also like some tips on how to become better investors. And so that's my motivation to starting the channel. And yeah, like, so yeah, that's my main motivation for wanting 10 million subscribers over $10 million.
Okay, no, excellent choice. YouTube will be very happy that you chose that one. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us today, Matt. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter with the handle @MatthewDonald34, on TikTok @ValiantEl, and so with the spelling of that, it's VALINTEEL. You can find me on YouTube, which I'm sure Chris wouldn't mind putting a link in his description on YouTube.
And you can tell the viewers as well what the
because like I haven't got the subscribers to put the handle like Matthew Donald, and I'm sure Matthew Donald is taken.
Yeah, I haven't actually Matthew Donald is your channel.
I haven't checked. But if you type like Matthew Donald into YouTube, I haven't seen to see if there's many Matthew Donalds.
Okay. But I'll certainly leave a link in the description below to help.
Yeah, that'll probably be best. That way people will be able to find it really easy. So yeah, subscribe and watch my content.
Excellent. No, guys, make sure you get behind Matt. He is a stock genius. He's been investing in stocks for 10 plus years. And as hopefully came across in this interview, has certainly got a passion for it. So thanks for joining us, Matt.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.